Oh boy, it's Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics again. And gonna go ahead and talk about, what is it, 4 issues of separate comics from DC. So I'll weigh in on those. I've got some perhaps to catch up on that I'm behind. I may do or I may not. I mean, some of these have later lost causes, but uh, I've been behind on the other absolute titles, with the exception of Batman. Superman one, the art is incredible. It's the best of the batch, but I'm not crazy about the, the whole story structure and whatnot. Um, the Wonder Woman one is an interesting one, but I've missed one and now I'm kind of ahead. And then the latest one I don't have, I've seen previews of it, and the new artist is really good. A lot of people didn't like the original artist, and I can see why, but there's some aspects to that which, oddly enough, are kind of fitting to it. But I'll have to deal with that later. I'll deal with what I have here. So we'll go ahead. Hey, look, it's little me. Um, oh, is the little thing in? I didn't turn it up. Is that going to cover me up so bad? Yeah, I guess so. um, Oh, I should have set all this up ahead of time. I apologize. I got a little sick after doing a little after Pat's show. That happens not because of Pat's show, because I'm having troubles. Um, Most notably, I cannot get enough sleep, no matter what I do, and it's starting to really take its toll. And I apologize for how this comes across and whatnot. Um, so, anywho, um, that's the deal with that. And yeah, here we go. This should do it. And this is what I'll place in the shot. Yeah. I'll pin that. Pin that. It should. Anyway, there you go. Hopefully, chat works. It didn't the last time I was using Rumble. If that's if that's what happens, then again, I'll apologize here and now. But super tip, as far as I know, it only works in text. I can't get it to work for the AI voice, sadly. That's on me. I'm an idiot and can't figure it out. When given time and energy, I will address that. So anyway, right off the bat for DC, they're once again turning to Batman to save them from their doldrums, and they got Jim Lee, of course, on the art, and Jeff Loeb returning for a sequel to their Hush series they did way back when. So, of course, it's Jim Lee. The art is spectacular. It's a great thing and all that, and that's cool. One of the things about all of this is, whilst DC was struggling, I thought one of the great things that Jim Lee should do is to start drawing a regular title. He's going to be doing this, I think, for the year. I don't know how long the story arc runs for this Hush. Well, I think it's just for the Hush sequel. So however many issues that runs, and then they'll hand it off to the next team. But essentially, I would have preferred they pursue another story rather than another Hush one. But, that's what they're known for, I guess. That's why they're doing it like that. And it's okay. It's good. It's glorious to look at and what have you. But know, the mystery's over. It was, I think it was supposed to have been, the story goes, Jason Todd, and then they went against that, and there's this Thomas Elliott guy, and I mean, I don't know if it's to insinuate that there's yet another Hush. You know, it's Hush too, so maybe it's a different guy. But anyway, it's got this brutal uh, takedown of the Joker by Hush, and toying with Batman, and that's, you know, the cat and mouse element of it. So they got that going, and I'm sure it'll do well. I mean, at the very least, it's really cool to look at because Jim Lee's art. But ultimately, it's testament that I think something of this should have been ongoing from the get go, and that Jim Lee's talents is in art. And as far as being the top guy running DC, not really seeing a whole lot of excellence there. And that's unfortunate, certainly, obviously, for, you know, DC. But it is what it is. So, good luck on that. But, you know, it's probably too little too late. But I don't know. He'll make a good season. Meanwhile, there's Justice League Unlimited. It's fine. It's, you know, they're battling this mysterious terrorist organization, Inferno, and they're burning up the Amazon, and they need help. Swamp Thing's unavailable. I'm not up on Swamp Thing entirely. They introduce a new character here, which I do remember this character. I think they did a Vertigo series about her a while back, and but I wasn't aware of this other Swamp Thing they've got. But nevertheless, it's Stan Moore's art, which really, once again, steals the show because it's really good. There's a follow-up on the Troubles for John Jones. Here's the absolute version, which I just, man, I don't know that that's going to work. I do have the issue. I'll check it out for a later thing. But it's got its soap opera elements, and it's a team book, so it can be very scattered. Really, this whole thing about Justice League Unlimited, I think, is a bit of a mistake. They need to coalesce, and it's always going to end up being the main seven, you know. So it's kind of why do that anyway. Having other characters come and go is fine and all that, but anyway. So they come up with a solution for the immediate problem, but the threat lingers on, and it's fine, but it's nothing spectacular. And I think the crowded cast here, where ultimately there's really only a handful. Gee, it's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Then, I don't know, Green Lantern or Aquaman shows up, and that's about it. Everybody else is furniture. That's what's going to happen. You may focus on one of them, and there's a particular character in here who's pivotal to the overall plot, but that could have been a part of the story without having reorienting the entire team as it's everybody, you know. Meanwhile, New Gods dipped back in to that, which is interesting, and mostly it's just because I just want a good take on New Gods, but so far, really, Walt Simonson has been the best. Jack Kirby created it, introduced it, but it was, you know, a bit scattered in his means. He was a great artist, a good idea man, but not so much a good writer. So here, there's two different styles of art in this, but it's presenting this element of really putting an emphasis on gods in New Gods. So there's this mythological approach to it all. They're all very weird, and we get a little history lesson on the gods. Of course, the New Gods era was always referred to as the fourth world. So what about the first three? You know, so there's delving into that and all this stuff. And the art is top notch. It's really good. And then it shifts to the regular story, I thought, which is also good in its own way. It's a different artist with, Mr. Miracle and Barda and Oberon. You know, we have a little vignette with them as they are protecting the special child and all that sort of stuff. But it's a bit jarring how they did it. It probably would have been better to just put this at the end, as is, and it literally says, "Meanwhile, yeah, it does it," and you go into it, and then, well, you're back in the distant past for this story of gods and the origins of the universe and so on, and it interrupts the flow unnecessarily, and when you're going to end up back with Mr. Miracle and the like, so probably would have made it for a better flow. But for the bulk of the book is this history lesson. The overall plot or adventure, rather, of this mysterious child and all that takes a back seat to this, but they'll get to it. I like it. I just don't think it's enough to salvage it. And in this day and age, with where the comic books are, it's probably not going to work. And that's unfortunate. New Gods, there's a lot of cool concepts about it. But again, other than Walt Simonson, and that lasted a good while. He had a couple of times. Him and John Byrne worked on that. But that's, narratively speaking, is probably the most successful of the attempts at it. I guess perhaps it's not meant to be. I don't know, but it's beautiful to look at it again. and overall, between the two, with Marvel and DC wins that one. It's just the way it is. Green Lantern, of course, this is Jeremy Adams writing, and he's probably the best talent writing wise that DC has at the moment. But here it's Green Lantern, and they're going to do, or they already have, it's probably already out, the Green Lantern Corps. The art in here is also top notch. But this is cluttered with so many other characters, and it's been that way for a while. It started off, you're getting Hal Jordan's story where he is now, him and Carol Ferris reuniting. And the Carol Ferris story seems a bit rushed, to where it's not the intention, but she comes across as very cold and rather was leading on this guy who is one of the new villains. He calls himself Sorrow and all that. It's like she just, well, I'm still in love with my old boyfriend, so I'm just going to dump you. They were engaged and everything. And so he becomes this new villain and all. To me, it was rather rushed in that it just all falls into place suddenly. That kind of thing. Probably should have handled that a little better, but it's still one of the better titles, just adventure wise. And he's been a good steward of the Hal Jordan character. However, it's so cluttered, and Hal Jordan has become a guest star in his own book, and I not liking that. I'm assuming it won't be the standard and be forever, but I could be completely wrong about that. So best of luck on that. So those are the titles that I read. There's a couple of others, but I want to spend more time overall on those for later. So there we are. Some titles I read from the fine folks at DC Comics. And we'll see how that pans out. Batman will be fine. The rest, I don't know. So anyway, there was a new episode. You want to place on it was probably the best of the batch of the series. You're leading up to. Let's see if I can. No, not that one. How about this one? No. There we go. Yay. Maybe. do this. Yay. Yay. There we go. Sorry. So that's the deal. The lead up to it was very long, and is probably the biggest drag on the Daredevil series. There's elements of it that is reminiscent of the Netflix show, which was about as good as it gets for these, superhero shows on television or streaming, what have you. But getting to this where you actually have him, in the suit. It's called Daredevil. He might as well dress up like Daredevil. And then he's battling a guy who also has a suit. So there you go. You almost have the whole package. And that you got a little bit of that in the last episode, but in this one, it's pretty much full on. And sure, there are elements in the plot that's rather convenient for the purposes of plot. What happens and the reveal who the super villain, the villain is in this, which they did lay down some amount of groundwork for that, of this guy, of who he turns out to be. Not really like, oh man, it's a big reveal or what have you. But the way they play it out, it's kind of fine. Okay. When the damsel in distress realizes what the deal is, and then Daredevil has to save her and all this, works out okay. I mean, it is a comic book story, and he does have his superpowers of his super senses. He just can't see. But the way he realizes what's up. Well, I've decided not to spoil actual plot and whatnot, other than, he wins. He's the superhero. So, but all told, the bank heist episode was pretty good. It was a standalone thing. This one is just, it gave you more of adventure and that sort of thing, which you wouldn't expect from a superhero show. Some amount of slowness and development you can allow for and understand, but it dragged on too long. And for the position that Marvel's in, they really don't have a lot of patience on behalf of that audience for this. Not the least of which, of course, the bigger problem, can't help but repeat it over and over again, is the reason people didn't show up for this Daredevil show to begin with. It's because the brand overall for Marvel and Disney is bad. It's very badly damaged and got a nasty stain on it. And that's going to be a tough thing to overcome. And overall, this response to Daredevil is bad news. Even going into the movies, they're hoping Fantastic Four will pull their hash out of the fire. I'm not so sure about that. And even the new Avengers movie with Robert Downey Jr. returning, I don't think that'll be enough. And same thing here, because Daredevil, by all metrics, was seen as, the best of those Netflix shows and everything, and was very beloved. And people seemed really happy that they were going to keep the same guy in the suit with Charlie Cox and all that, and they did it. And yet, what's the problem? Now, having seen it, will word of mouth be strong enough? Well, I'm not certain, because there's some flaws here. But this episode, Art for Art's Sake, it's called, is probably the highlight of it. And what is there, only like 2? Are they getting 10 episodes? I always forget this. If it's 10, then there's 4 more. If it's only 8, there's only 2 more episodes. And but a lot of elements come together. There's even more groundwork laid here with Kingpin and the like, and it gels and flows well and fits together. So it was good. I'm sorry I didn't make that clear, but that is the take on Daredevil. Art for art's sake. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, why is it called that? Well, if you understand who this villain is and you got to see pretty much all about him last episode, you get even more now. And obviously, the title fits rather perfectly. So there you go. Two guys in crazy outfits beating the crap out of each other once again in Daredevil. So, there you go. Isn't that something? I would say yes. And I did right now. I said yes. All right. I don't know if that's long enough for a video unto itself. Oh, probably not. Crap. Well, it'll have to count as my review for Daredevil. So, anywho, I guess I'll get to this little bit of business. Yeah, I don't know. Let me check this. Do 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 do. Yeah, okay. So I don't know because I'm back in Rumble Studio. I had trouble with that last time around, and I couldn't see the chat, but I'm seeing it now. It should. I mean, I could see my super tip thing, but it wouldn't show me people talking to me. But I just checked it out. Nobody's here. So problem. Uh, Not at the moment. So we'll just go with that. Okay. So now I guess I'll do this little drawing session to fill out the time for this little live stream. And this was a drawing I did while on Pat's show. Yet another criminal. This woman murdered her husband. I didn't get all the details yet. I was going to do a Nailsin news thing earlier tonight, but again, didn't feel well and stuff. Had to take a break on that. And decided, oh crap, it's Wednesday. I got to do the so on and so forth. So, her husband was a Green Beret. I don't know what the deal was, but they're saying she killed him. So, well, these things happen. So, would have done that story. Maybe still will at some point. But what I'll Jesus, things bouncing around. What I'll do here. I think I need to fix this so I'm not. Whoops. There we go. Come on, go there. See, so very small. There I am in the corner. Yes, I'm in trouble. So on Pat's show, addressed, if you will, this back and forth between Pat and Patrick Melton, and Pat wanted to. He gave me the option if I didn't want to do the show, but I don't know. I thought I should, and for the most part, there's not a lot of disagreement, between him and me on this. Well, one of the points that I think I got across, but I could be completely wrong. In the context of the show, is a lot of times it's difficult and doesn't necessarily have to be all the time, but it does happen of understanding each person's viewpoint and where they're coming from, that sort of thing. It's the sort of thing I think should be communicated directly between the people involved, but if, it's not really happening. So, all right. Uh, but basically, this goes back, I guess, in a lot of ways, it probably goes back to the Hackamania show. That was the first one. And Melton had Pat be a part of that. Got Pat out there in Vegas, did the show, and all that. But Pat overslept, and they didn't, and missed. I don't even know what all he missed. But Melton was understandably was irritated by this, and so there was some problems there, um, and all that. So that probably was like the first thing, saying, "Hey, what the hell?" That kind of thing. Uh, but I wouldn't think it was earth shattering or anything, and I don't think Belton did either. But that's I suppose it's worth to mention how that uh, can develop a characterization or something of some nature in understanding one another, I suppose. Anyway, so uh, later on, um, there was this incident concerning super tips. And my take on it was always that Pat's been stalked by his ex girlfriend. It's just gone on for a long time. He went out of his way, and I can always attest to this for anyone who was unaware of it. We talked about it on the show. Is Pat wanted to be done with it, and any mention of her, we used to do this bit on the show where I would read the chat, all of it, not just super chats or rumble rants or what have you. Well, it's all rumble rants now, and then of course super tips read themselves for the most part. Um, and I did that in a James Mason voice and stuff like that. And it was just a little gag that I did. Um, so uh, sometimes it was Felicia herself would come in. Other times it was people wanting to stir the pot and all that. Pat said, just ignore those. Don't read them. All that. I don't want any mention of that. So, okay. Damn near a year goes by. Felicia shows up attacking Pat, making all these ridiculous claims, and saying, well, I've got to attack him because he's been bad mouthing me on his show. It's demonstrably false. And all this stuff. Then Pat mysteriously loses his channel, and so on and so forth. And in that regard, Melton was a big help to Pat. Of course, got him on that Hackamania, got him set up with super tips, which of course is amazing. It's just a great system, and especially with what happened over cancel culture and the like, super tips is an incredible thing, and I keep saying this, but I do see great things for it. I see it expanding far beyond what it is now. I can imagine what other technologies could be utilized within it, given the capital and all that. And of course, the reach for a customer base and so on. It's going to be a great thing. So let's see. What am I summarizing the whole thing and the ordeal between them and all the stuff that this troubled woman has done? She cutting through an awful lot, but she's she would show up in his show, and a lot of people were jumping on Dixon. A lot of this involves people who just don't like him anyway, and that sort of thing. But time and again, he would talk about what this was really about, how she's obsessed and nuts, really, and people would counter, and this sort of thing. So documented evidence and whatnot. Ultimately, she tried to get him arrested, and then there was the application for restraining orders, and so he had this all along. But ultimately, she wouldn't stop whenever, so he publishes it, and it shows, what her complaints were, and it was this absurdity, nothing about assaults or anything like that, nothing, no physical attack, him not liking her and calling her names, whatever. That sort of thing, whatever. So it's a documentation of events, the likes of which nobody else has done, to the contrary, because they can't. So, nevertheless, she still comes at it, and so you realized, and this is the strange psychology of it all, that she would go back to him. All this, and this was part of the thing that happened. And she was using super tips to send him messages. Now, uh, Pat was talking to Moody, who's I guess the main tech guy for super tips, and he was explaining the means by which to prove it was her, and certainly that was there. Uh, Melton, uh, I guess, got spooked or nervous about it, which is perfectly understandable to a point, of what he was worried about. His concern is super tips itself, which I can understand. And nobody was really talking about it, but I mean, but he was concerned about it, and so his response to it, which I would have thought would be to uh, contact Pat directly, um, and say, "Look, you got to clear this up. That super tip is not." It's not a doxing machine or whatever and that the information is available through Stripe and so on and so forth. Um, but he did it in Pat's chat, and so all right, so uh, Pat did spell that out. I I would have thought that would be the end of it. I don't know what else there is. Since then, it's like there was real no jeopardy for super tips here. Chief among it, because not much happened. I mean, there wasn't really any doxing, uh, or Felicia or whatever. Well, yeah, not whatever Felicia. Um, and but I guess it was another sort of breaking point of, I don't know that I want to deal with this guy and that sort of thing. I suppose, um, but um, that's how that unfolded, and the parts that becomes a bit of a problem that would no doubt stuck in Pat's craw is he goes off about it. Now he's upset. Melton, I mean, he's upset about the potential of problems here, and that he doesn't want to be wrapped up in any kind of soap opera or drama uh, with uh, with Pat Dixon's ex girlfriend and all that sort of thing. And there again, to a point, considering the situation, regardless of what seriousness or serious jeopardy there was for Supertip or whatnot, it's easy to explain it. in the sense of what he feared. Uh, but that doesn't justify going off on things and saying, I can't have you doing this if you're going to flip out and kill her. Something of that. And I was like, yeah, no. It's another pile on for the whole accusations that people throw around at him and all that sort of thing. Uh, uh, that's going to sting a lot. Probably, I don't think that was the intention entirely. I think it was just he was pissed at the all that had happened, or what he feared could happen, um, and that sort of thing. But yeah, you really shouldn't have done that. And it's I do recall him saying everybody knows she's crazy and stuff. Well, then there's no point in trying to suggest she might not be. It was just a bad call. But scenario, conditions, what have you, it's the sort of thing you can get past. And for a time, it seemed like that. I guess it happened. I mean, you just kind of move on, and for the most part, things seemed fine. Pat was mad at Milton for a time, but he even said on the show, "Yeah, I'm not mad at him. I don't hold anything against him. Stuff like that." So, okay. Early on, there was, I guess, Pat Dixon, that is, suggested, "Hey, what if you get Cumia to do?" This is Anthony Cumia to do Hackamania, the next one, Hackamania 2. And Milton said, "Yeah, that would be cool." And I forget when this occurred, some time ago. And then there was a blow up between them and all that, this sort of thing. But so, of course, that would be a good thing. It'd be a very smart thing to do. And that's been my contention on this. Melton has mentioned wanting Anthony to have, and I remember this on the show tonight. This was some time ago. He said this. I don't like to talk about text, but I don't know how else to put it. He did mention this to me in a text thing, what I'm leading up to here. And that's just basic logic and good and smarts and common sense. If you can get Anthony Cumia to your show, you do it. So anyway, Opie Unleashed happens. And this is another thing. Like I said, what's fair to Melton, is best as I see it, is to understand why he had problems with the Felicia Ron Fuddle incident. If you're aware of this, you know what I'm talking about, which I just iterated about the super tips and all that. To a point, yeah. Going on about Pat Dixon freaking out and killing people, no. The rest of it, okay. This is understandable just in the sense of it's actually a smart thing to do. But Opie Unleashed happens, and everybody starts talking. Even I been drawing pictures of Opie and all this stuff. Who are these podcasts? Of course, have been covering Opie forever. But this is like a new thing recently that Opie started doing, and everybody watched it and took their jabs at him and all this stuff. Anthony himself, of course, on and on and on about all that. And then Melton jumps in on it. And so I think he probably mentioned, I can't remember, but Pat goes, "Hey, you know what? I mentioned this idea of getting Anthony," and Anthony said, "Yeah, I don't think I could do it," or something of that nature at the time. And so Melton the idea is that, hey, I'll jump on this Opie thing to be on good standing with Anthony. All right. It's Melton says, no, I'm covering Opie because it's funny. And it is. And to some extent, you can make an argument where both are true, to the sense that, well, it happens you agree with Anthony on Opie being this ridiculous guy, and becomes great fodder for sniping videos and whatnot. That's very true, and so and nobody does this better than Melton. That's just the way it is. That's a fact, Jack. It's just the way it is. I mean, he's very good at it. And it's, I don't know. There's lots of people will watch and comment on the same video, and the point to be made is there. It's solid. It's about how Opie behaves and whatnot. But just Melton's timing and his ability to do all this is just really good. And he can come up with takes on it. Perhaps second only to Anthony's, who has an edge on all things Opie and and what have you. But it's so all around. It's the right thing to do. It's a smart thing to do. Now we did this show where Pat was the totality of it, which I don't believe Melton saw. I did see him watching a clip of the show that was clipped a lot. And the deal was like, this was all Pat's idea, and Melton is going to go get Anthony to get him at Hackamania just to stick it to Pat Dixon. And that's not what any of us believed. And at the end of all that, the overall scenario was that, well, once again, Pat loses and played the cartoon trumpet and all that, the fail sound. And that was that. Well, they got clipped, and this got back to Melton, and he was, wow, Pat's nuts. He thinks I'm, doing this to get at him or something of that nature. Well, no. And I mean, in an overall real sense, even if he did, it doesn't really matter. You can just make the point, well, that's stupid. And then you move on, it's no big deal. But I never thought that, Patrick Melton was doing a Machiavellian takedown of Pat Dixon. So it's just unfortunate. I meant no ill will towards Melton. I think people, if you're not watching his show and you like this Dabbleverse, I don't see how you're not. You should. And if you subscribe and all that, join, what have you. Good morning, Tony. But beyond that, a lot of this it's strange, and I understand there's that's another thing. That's one of the part about navigating personalities and whatnot is you're never fully aware of everything. Each person involved could have their own problems. I definitely have a lot of stuff going on. It's not great. I do not talk about that stuff, but it's there. I understand Melton's very busy, not just with the show and stuff, but Super Tip as well, and all of that sort of stuff. And something like this pops up, and it takes umbrage at it, especially from his vantage point. He did help Pat out. He did. And he sees that's perhaps it's not grateful or not. However, you have to understand when you go off on things earlier like that, and then this blows up, and we're not really getting why this would have to be the Super Tip thing, and worrying about stumbles or whatnot that might ruin negotiations for expanding it and investors and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I can understand the nervousness and fear for something of that nature, and all that. But you have to understand also, first of all, fortunately there wasn't no real damage or jeopardy for it. The fear, I guess, is that it could develop into it or something of that nature, but nothing of that occurred. So, hey, all good. But I mean, him going off on Pat is what stuck in Pat's craw, and in the ways that he did, saying that this was a dumb idea on Pat's part, or this was stupid, or you don't understand the risk. Okay, but the business, you might flip out and kill her. All of that you're just as obsessed as she is. Nobody cares about this. Why can't you just let it go or whatnot? Well, he did. It didn't work because there are two people involved in these scenarios. And if one of them doesn't want it to end, you're kind of stuck, and it's easy to ignore it or miss that, I suppose, to some extent, when you're not the target. She's not interested in the rest of us. And so that's, try to gain some vantage point of each other. The communication breakdown is bizarrely severe, it appears. I don't know. Now, it could be, again, and I preemptively will apologize if there's a lot going on, even more so than I can even guess, and you just didn't have the time to get back to Dixon or what have you. And maybe that's the deal. Or beyond it, I just don't want to. Could just say that, then I guess there's nothing else to discuss, and we'll just all move on. But it bothers me, it's bothered me a lot. And for it, if my clumsiness or whatever, I left you with the wrong idea or whatnot, I don't think there's anything that now I hate the guy and I want him to fail and ruin. No, I absolutely do not want that. As I said, I praise super tips over and over again. Everybody should get on that. Certainly when the opportunity comes, I see it being a glorious thing. I think Patrick Melton is a great talent and all that. And I would hope that I haven't damaged any potential communication so far. Probably have. I don't know. And if that's the case, well, we'll just have to move on and deal with it. I'm grateful. He hired me to do artwork, or contracted, I guess you would say, for Hackmania 2. And that was fun, and was very generous on that, and was always very respectful and professional about it. Let's see, there was something else I want. See, you see what I'm dealing with here. This is the pre-onset of senility. Well, of course, Super Tips itself, he just recently set me up with that. Again, my clumsiness, I'm struggling understanding it. Ordinarily, I would have reached out, but I just feel like I don't think the guy, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It could all be completely innocent, but I feel bad not wanting to, I don't want to bother him, and it's like, why can't I just figure it out? And so the super tips, they can show up, but you can't hear anything. So did one. That's just, does it show there? Yeah, that. So there's that one. And that's the tech one. So there's the one I sent myself, which was you're supposed to be able to hear that one, but yeah, I did the thing with the virtual what do you call it cable to output the audio, and from my understanding, that's supposed to have done it through OBS, and sadly, I'm still missing something, and I didn't get it right. So that's on me. There's no, well, what's Milton up to? There's none of that, and all of this. I I would hope there would be this could be repaired. Uh, Best bet would be to talk directly. Um, Beyond that, I'm not certain what else can be done, and I probably made it worse. I don't know, but all the best. If you got your tickets for Acumania, or if you don't, you should get them and go to the show. Milton will give you a very good time. And so all the best on that, and all the best for Super Tips. And yeah, all the best. And I mean that sincerely. So I don't know. Will Pat make fun of you and stuff? Yes. But, I mean, I guess this is the business, You see, there are things that happen, everybody knows this to a point. I mentioned that I live on a cattle ranch. It was my dad's ranch, He was the real cowboy. It was a big herd, and now it's down to a few, every now and then. Oh crap, I need a quick 1,000, so I'll sell a cow. That kind of thing. So people in the chat would say, Doug's fucking cows. Now this is defamatory. You get the idea that this, I mean, obviously, people taking jabs at you for the purposes of a joke, is just going to happen. Done immediate with malice, it doesn't have to be. In some cases, I mean, look, with some of the people that go after Melton, they're so bad at it. They're just shooting themselves in the foot, because Melton is just going to destroy them. And if he sees this, he'll destroy me because I'm no match for any of that. It's just all very sad. And I mean, they're both Pat and Pat are great talents, and they would be stronger together than apart. But to each their own, and what have you. But I guess I babbled on enough here. I just hopefully all can go well. Man, that I just now look, boy. I'm looking at the drawing from my perspective here. Well, I've done worse. I did the one I did that ultimately was used for the Hackmania art is the absolute best that I did of Melton, if I may say so myself. And I just did, so it's now official. But I'm talking and all that. That's my general excuse for not getting the drawings just right. That being said, that lady, well, not really. The one I showed earlier about the one who was a murderer did a better job on her. But that's the thing. Some of them, they're actually kind of ugly, and yet they look much prettier in the drawing. It's a strange thing. I don't know, but that's the crazy ladies who kill people things. But anyway, as for Melton, well, I don't know. It's probably not yeah, this isn't gonna. But I've done, like I said, worse. But it wasn't intentional. I tried. Damn it. I I did try. I did. Well, what else you got to do? So I guess that'll wrap it up. What else to do? I had my comic books, and oh, speaking of the comic books, I do have the what I call the Doodleverse comics. I pitched the idea to him, and he was like, "Hey, I'll promote it and stuff." I haven't talked to him about it since, and I don't know that I want to bother him again. But it's finished. I'll be sending it off to the printer. I call it Doodleverse Comics. You've probably seen some of them here and there and post on X or whatnot. And it's, little comic strips based on different Dabbleverse scenarios. There's, some Steel Toe in there, Kevin Brennan, Stuttering John, Chad Zumach. I think, and Opie made, see, even I, because I want to be on good terms with Anthony Cumia, so I utilized. yeah. But that's in there as well, and it'll be available just like the Night comics at the indieplanet.com in my little store there. And I don't know when, and at this late date, depending on how Kablam, which is the printer company, which is, they're the same company really, but their store is Indie Planet, has it ready to go for people to either order the print edition or just get the digital, and they can do that, and it'll be there over at Indie Planet. And I'll share it, post it, all that sort of stuff, and you'll have another Nailsin comic with Dabbleverse characters in there and all that good stuff. So, be on the lookout for that. As for Melton and his show, Nobody Likes Onions, it's the best. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's not always Steel Toe. Steel Toe is kind of the main attraction of the freak show. But he was doing a show a while back where it was, and sometimes it's people will send him a link, or so Moody does it a lot, and some people will email him a link to some other, he'll check it out on the show. And when it's his take on it, it's really good. But recently it was just a bunch of these crazy girls getting arrested. And in a lot of ways, the scenario played out. I mean, they're all going to get locked up and everything. A couple of them, all they had to do was just follow the instructions, and they would have been they would have gone home, but they had to just make it worse than it was and stuff like that. But again, with Melton guiding you through the video, it's so much better. And a lot of them sure are funny enough on their own. But with your narrator, Melton, boy, does it really catch articles of hilarity that you may not have noticed altogether, and the means by which he can frame it with his verbiage and takes, and then occasional some amount of in-depth analysis. He'll zoom in on things and stuff like that. And you get it all. So there's that. And there's other fine characters that you didn't know you missed out on until Melton showed you. So it's like a service, really. So do that. And might want to check out Hackamania in Las Vegas. It'll be in May from the 9th to the 11th. And there's a bunch of shows for you to go see. And you'll have a lot of fun. With Melton and the gang. Who are these podcasts will be there? Some other guys. I think still believe Dr. Steve will be there. And that'd be cool. All that good stuff. So, go check that out. And if you haven't already, check out Nobody Likes Onions. This is crap. That will be very different because it's good. I'm not good at live streaming. Oh, you didn't realize that? Well, now you do. You know it now. See, uh, whereas Milton is a master of the craft. So there you go. Do check that out. And tomorrow's another day. Well, it's already here. Yeah, it's the morning. Thursday is another day as well. So there is that. All right. Thank you for watching, and we'll do it again soon at some point. And hopefully everybody comes together as one in happiness and love. Have a good rest of your day.